All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today I have a couple of headlines here as we're seeing some more of these so called U.S. allies are now starting to directly oppose the United States in relation to this Iran war. Okay, and they're basically taking that stance and saying like, hey, one, we're not interested in sending our military over there. We're not trying to get involved. And two, we don't want you having your presence in our country if it's related to this war. Okay, and I'll go through here. I have a post here. As you can see, how DJ Trump is taking that not too well. So this is really the deterioration, right? The cracks in NATO, as well as the other allies of the U.S., which are seeming to now have this bitterness towards towards Babylon, and we know that eventually that's going to, due to whatever events transpire, that's going to lead to the complete fracture of that relationship, and ultimately a forming of a different kind of relationship, which is one of an adversary. Okay, where they end up now becoming adversaries to the U.S. to the point of even partaking in the destruction of Babylon. So let's read a little bit here. U.S. should start removing its troops from Germany, proposes AFD co-leader Trupala. I believe that's how you pronounce it, but let's find out. Oh, Crew. Okay, Krupala. Similar to the K. Okay, Crew. So Krupala, alternative for Germany, AFD, co-chair Tino Krupala spoke out in favor of withdrawing American troops from Germany. During a party congress in Saxony, he stressed that if AFD comes to power, this should be the first step in implementing the party's program, which calls for the removal of all Allied forces from Germany and a withdrawal from NATO's nuclear weapons sharing system. Let's start implementing this program by withdrawing U.S. troops, he said, as reported by Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, cited by, them German names, man. The proposal received loud applause by the audience. So people, and then he's going to even say it because he makes some good points in here, but majority of the world is looking at this like, yo, they're not looking at Babylon in a good light. The perception of the world is Israel drew the U.S. into this war. It was unnecessary, and now it has created a big mess that the world is paying for. But it's their mess, and it's theirs to clean up. And now Trump is saying, look, which we'll get into that as well. But they're now trying to push this narrative here to say we might be okay with just withdrawing, even if the strait is not open. Interesting. Krupala also argued that Germany should not be involved in international military operations, praising Spain for opposing U.S. use of its bases for its conflict with Iran. That is exactly right, quote unquote. Spain is not interfering in this war, he said. His criticism of American troops on German soil comes after his sharp criticism of Trump's decision to launch a war against Iran. I am extremely disappointed in Donald Trump when it comes to his campaign promises. Krupala during an appearance on Marcus Lands earlier this month. So that's what he said. Now, he's saying this, but he's not the only one thinking this. On the global stage, but whether ally or foe, they're all looking like, yeah, Didn't you come? Weren't part of your campaigns to end wars and not start them? And now you just went and started the biggest one of them all. During the election campaign, he also accused Kamala Harris that she would start World War III. And now we are on the cusp of having probably started the Third World War with Donald Trump. And that's a breach of his word, which I really resent, and which the American people also resent, who incidentally reject this war in Iran as at a much higher rate than Germans. So, 70% of Americans do not want this war and do not support it. So, they're letting you know here, like, from a common sense standpoint, this is a mess that you've created. Now, from an agenda standpoint, the so-called global elites, they're not looking at this as a mess. In fact, if anything, it's going pretty well according to plan. You now have a reason to implement, any lockdowns that you would like due to energy. Also using that as a cover for many other things you want to do. Anyway, let's keep on going. So here, this came out today, 8:40 a.m. from Breaking 911. Trump blasts France. He says here the country of France wouldn't let planes headed to Israel, loaded up with military supplies, fly over French territory. France has been very unhelpful. The USA will remember. Okay? And that is so now you have Spain, Germany, France, and these other countries. They're seeing this and they're like, yeah, like we've all been thinking this, but just as Germany came here on the heels of Spain saying, yeah, they did the right thing and not letting, and basically closing up their country to so the US can't use it in any way that will help them for this war. These other countries are like, yeah, we're on board with that. So this doesn't mean that they're gonna go to war with the US tomorrow. No. What this means is this is something to keep in mind, that in the back and now in the front of their minds, this is the feeling that was suppressed for so long, but now you have the right geopolitical situation to stir it up. Okay, that's what the Lord is doing. He's stirring it up right now. Moving on here, right? We now have gasoline prices, right? U.S. gasoline prices hit politically sensitive $4 level as Trump eyes Iran war off-ramp. And this is like the average they're saying now. Now, certain places you may go, it'd still be 3 something. Certain places it'll be higher than 4. Okay, but now they're saying most places are now hitting this number as things started to escalate more and more. So you can see here on this this image here, today's AAA national average, $4.18, price as of March 31st, 2026. So you can see here, these are the numbers based on the colors on here. You can pause the video if you want to have a more detailed look, but I'm going to continue on. Where we at? Oh, I think I just closed it out, but that was pretty much that on the point, right? $4 gasoline, $4 on there. Next, we have here water restrictions. Okay, here in Denver, Colorado, is imposing water restrictions. Orders restaurants to serve only on request. Restaurants in Colorado's capital are only allowed to serve water to guests if they ask, according to new restrictions by the Denver Board of Water Commissioners. Restaurants and catering businesses shall serve water only upon request, the mandatory irrigation restrictions read. The rules were issued in the Mile High City after the commissioners declared a stage 1 drought and made plans to seek a 20% reduction in water use. Water is very, very essential. It's used for damn near everything. City officials expect drought conditions to last until April 30th, 2027, and that's also a prophecy, right? Isaiah, the 19th chapter, goes into that, right? It discusses the droughts. I believe 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, mentions that as well. The update will affect many businesses, including the hospital industry. They say here, lodging establishments shall not change sheets more often than every 4 days for guests staying more than one night, except for health or safety reasons or upon express request of guests. Drivers who attempt to wash their car are told to use a bucket or a handheld hose equipped with an automatic shutoff nozzle if they don't use a commercial car wash. Residents can water their grass only 2 days per week, according to the schedule provided by city officials, but it is prohibited between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. when the sun is up. So you're starting to see now life is starting to get a bit more uncomfortable, right? It's like, damn, the oil, problem is not enough. Now you got to deal with this, and now you got to deal with that. Current conditions indicate that this is going to be an exceptionally challenging year for our water supply. Nathan Elder, manager of water supply for Denver, said at a Denver Board of Water Commissioners meeting. Okay, so you have oil going up, energy crisis happening. Now you're having, water scarcity, having droughts being declared, and now that comes with restrictions. Remember, as resources become scarce, your life becomes more uncomfortable. Okay, you have to now become more conscious about how you use these resources. Now, this is pretty interesting here, right? It says here, you have oil slides as Trump reportedly told aides he is willing to end war without reopening Hormuz, and now they're sort of switching their tone here, right? Throwing this out there, getting people talking now, saying that it's possible that even changing their objectives, right? To say that, well, now with having moved the goalpost, now we've scored a goal, all right? Now we have accomplished our objectives, and so we no longer need to continue this war. But then again, you are the same person who has said that you were having talks, and Iran says, no, they haven't even had any talks with you. Same person who said A, and then the answer wasn't even in the alphabet. So this is what's going on here. Now, these are all also psychological warfare tactics. Now, you got to keep in mind, what would happen, right? We'll read this in a second, but what would happen should they say, okay, now we've deployed troops over there. We've ramped up production of different systems, and artillery for war. We've basically, triggered Iran even more to where now they're blasting Israel with missiles, and they're doing all of these things. And now I think we're good. We're going to withdraw now. So we went in there, created a mess. And what's going to happen is, should the strait remain closed, because Iran says, hey, we're keeping this under our control. So you do what you want to do, but we're going to keep doing what we've said we're going to do. So you withdraw, right? You say, yeah, we're done. And the war is over. But the effects are still going. And then the reason you started the war, at least the purported reason you started the war, being Israel feeling threatened because they pulled you into this, what happens to them? What if Iran says, yeah, okay, you may stop. We're going to continue bombing Israel. We're going to continue blowing up different places that even in these Gulf states that are of interest to the United States. What do you do then? Because gas prices are still going to keep going up, right? So how do you go and start a war causes global economic turmoil, and then say, now we're done, while that turmoil is still going? That's not going to bode too well for you now, is it? And you got midterm elections coming up. So this is the red herrings. They throw these things out there, to get people talking. They try to throw you off their scent, but they've made too many commitments, to just up and say, all right, we're done with this. Okay, let's read a little bit of this. At least that's my perspective on this. So oil slides, as Trump reportedly told aides he is willing to end war without reopening Hormuz. Salakia, 1 second. Says here, Trump reportedly told his aides he's willing to end the war without reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Now let's go down and read this a little bit here. So the Wall Street Journal is reporting that President Trump told aides he's willing to end U.S. military campaign against Iran, even if the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. As I've been telling you for the longest now, listen to what they say, but watch what they do. If this is really I mean, he's willing, right? He's willing. Is he actually going to do it? And even if they should come out and say, yeah, we're done now, are you removing those troops that you've deployed over there that are so-called going to be taking over Karg Island or seizing the enriched uranium and all of those? What's going on over there? Anyway, it says here, administration officials said likely extending Tehran's firm grip on the waterway and leaving a complex operation to reopen it for a later date. And that sounds like, once again, you went and lit the fire and you wanted to burn a bit more now. Oh yeah, we're gonna back up. Tell the firefighters back up, let it burn a little bit, and then we'll consider coming back. In recent days, Trump and his aides assessed that a mission to pry open the choke point would push the conflict beyond his timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. He decided that the U.S. should achieve its main goals of hobbling Iran's navy and its missile stocks and wind down current hostilities while pressuring Tehran diplomatically. You think that's going to work? To resume the flow or the free flow of trade. If that fails, Washington would press allies in Europe and the Gulf to take the lead on reopening the strait, the officials said. The longer the strait remains closed, the more it will roil the global economy and boost gas prices. Oil is falling significantly on the news, erasing all its earlier gains on the news, because now people are like, oh yes, this war can finally possibly be over if they withdraw. Here, wait, hold on. Those European countries that are now suffering, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna say, wait a minute. You went in there, caused all of this mess we are suffering and paying for, and you're telling us we gotta go in there and open the strait? We gotta have casualties on our side. We gotta, spend all this money to go in there, join a war that can will and is expanding into a world war over a mess you went and created while you back up out of here? I wonder if that's going to strengthen or weaken their alliance even more. Now, based on this next post that I have on here, it seems to me that he's just using this to try and provoke or trying to find a reason to cause these other countries to join in this war, right? So at first he said, look, we're going to open it, but we need y'all to join in here. They said, nah. So now he's like, okay, well, then we're going to back off. And then, we're good, but you're affected. So you do what you want to do. And I recommend you go up in there and open the strait yourself. So it's like a pressure tactic to try and force these nations in, to draw them in some more. Off-ramp in progress. Israeli media signals completion phase of Iran war. Once again, the same Israelis who said that this isn't, I believe, I forgot who or what position he held, but he said this isn't going to be done. This operation in Iran won't be done at least until a year. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, okay, you know what? We've met our objectives, and we're good now. The world is not buying it. It's no secret that Washington is looking for an off-ramp amid what has been a steady pattern of escalation with Iran over the past month since Operation Epic Fury began. The White House's anticipated timeline and even list of objectives has seriously shifted since the war's start, as has the scope, given Tehran's unexpected big retaliatory strikes on the Gulf and Israel, including on energy infrastructure targets. It seems Trump was thinking Iran could be parallel to the Venezuela situation, where a decapitation operation swiftly removed Maduro, and the U.S. basically acknowledged a pliant puppet in his place. That's why White House officials at the very start were talking about an operation that should be last just days or maybe a couple of weeks, right? And people who understood the magnitude or the scope of such a provocation knew how ridiculous that sounded. You're not going to trigger a nation like Iran that's been preparing for this for a long time and say, yeah, that'll be just be a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, and we'll call it a day. It doesn't work that way. Now, 1 month in, and we have fresh headlines like this: Iran war enters fourth week with no clear end in sight. The U.S. administration is meanwhile trying to refocus its definable objectives. However, overall vision and strategy for a mission accomplished end goal has been anything but clear. And that's what people keep asking. Well, why what is it now? You've moved the goalpost so many times. It's not even on the soccer field anymore. What's the objective now? For example, the start of the war saw the White House officially list as an objective the end of Iran's nuclear program and removal of enriched uranium. But that is no longer listed. Instead, the State Department, citing Marco Rubio, has issued the following military objectives in Iran: the destruction of Iran's air force, the destruction of their navy, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability, the destruction of their factories. Apparently, that is now the objectives that they can turn around and say, oh, this is what we wanted to do, now we're good. There are much more achievable aims allowing the Trump administration, these are much more achievable aims allowing the Trump administration to save face by declaring they've all been met. And then the people are going to say, so why are gas prices not going down? Whenever it wants to proclaim a mission complete situation and pull Pentagon assets from the theater. But once again, keep in mind that they've made a lot of moves, and this isn't something that is in the hands or the decision. They keep telling you, Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, and they keep telling, the decision is up to Trump himself, and once he comes up with that's how puppet rulers are put in the public eye. Seem like they're the decision makers. Then Netanyahu comes out and says, well, you think somebody can tell Trump what to do? Yes, that's exactly what we think, because that's exactly what's going on. So they're trying to shift the thoughts and the minds of the people to make it seem like he's in control of this. So if he says, I'm thinking we stop or we do this, oh, okay, that's what's going to happen. It doesn't work that way. So here it says Trump, all of those countries, I actually read it from here, this post, and this was from Breaking 911 today, right, March 31st. All of those countries that can't get, and this is funny, right? This is funny considering why they can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz. Why is that? So now he comes on here and posts and says, all those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number 1, buy from the US. We have plenty. And number 2, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait and just take it. Well, why don't you go and take the Strait like you said you were? You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Well, they said you didn't consult anybody. You went up in there and triggered and caused this very problem that now you're trying to push onto them to say, now that's your problem. You go deal with it. You see why this is causing the horns to hate the whore, the beast to hate the whore. These nations are looking at this at Babylon through this guy, and they're like, yo, this guy gotta go. Now, there's also something I'm gonna pull it up here in a second. I forgot who was it? Was it Hegseth who mentioned it about or maybe it was somebody else? But I'll pull it up about the Greater North. I think it's the Greater North America Like how you have the Greater Israel Project. It says Iran has been essentially decimated. Lies. The hard part is done. Okay, so the strait should be open then. Go get your own oil, President DJT. That's funny. Now, this is what I was mentioning. The Greater North America map drawn by Trump. Yeah, this is it. The Greater North America map is a strategic security concept unveiled by U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in March 2026 on behalf of President Donald Trump. Check this out. It is described as a geopolitical vision that defines a security perimeter stretching from Greenland down to the Gulf of America, formerly the Gulf of Mexico, and Panama, consolidating North America under a single U.S.-led defense strategy. Now, it's also interesting that they have something known as the Greater Israel Project, right? The Greater Israel Project is a Zionist vision proposing a state extending beyond current borders, historically interpreted from biblical texts as ranging from the Nile to the Euphrates. It generally includes all of Israel, the Palestinian territories, the parts of neighboring countries like Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, often linked to this video, So, there's greater. How are they gonna achieve these ideas, this thoughts in mind? Greenland is like, you ain't getting shit. You ain't getting nice. You better back your ass up. So they have these so-called great ambitions, but once again, we're in a time where things are picking up very quickly. You're dealing with you're playing with fire, as they would say. Okay, and it is gonna get out of hand. It's gonna get out of their hand. I'm gonna get this real quick. 2 precepts. This is 1 Corinthians 7:29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none. And the main point here is the time is short, and it's now in our time is even shorter. Okay, because we're not seeing these things afar off. We're seeing them right before our eyes. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down onto you. This devil is representing Esau, Edom, the deceiver. Okay, it's come down onto you, having great wrath. Operation Epic Fury, right? What is fury? Wrath. Synonyms. Because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So they're doing all of this, and they're moving very quickly, because they know that their time is short. They're trying to do a lot in a short period of time to achieve a new world order. And they're seeing that there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of catalysts when you're dealing on a global scale. So that's why they're using a lot of psychological warfare. They're using red herrings. They're doing everything they can to try and steer and navigate the world according to their tune. But they fail to realize that in doing that, they themselves are going according to the tune of prophecy. So I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.